Hi everybody, this is the last video for statistics. In this video, I'll be solving some official exams on parts 2 and 3 from this chapter. By the way, I did a video on part 1 where I solved some exercises which are very important. So if you didn't watch that video, check it now. And as a reminder, parts 2 and 3 were on graphical representation of statistical data using bar graphs, polygons, and pie chart. So this is the first exercise. It's taken from the second session of 2009. Now pause the video, read it carefully and try to do it by yourself. The following table represents the grades over 60 of 20 students. Now from this, you should be able to know that the total frequency is 20, even if they didn't ask you to determine the total frequency. Now these are the grades and the frequencies, and this one is empty, the increasing cumulative frequency. Now let's start with the first part. What's the relative frequency of the grade 52? Recall that in order to calculate the relative frequency, it's the frequency of the value over the total frequency. So now what's the frequency of 52? It's 4. What's the total frequency? In order to get the total frequency, it's either given, like in this case, it's 20, because it's the total number of students, or you add up the frequencies and you'll get the total frequency, which is also 20. So it'll be 4 over 20, which is 0.2. Now complete the previous table. So you need to calculate the increasing cumulative frequency. Let's do it together if you didn't know how to do it. So for the first value of the increasing cumulative frequency, we drop the same frequency, which is 3. Now for the second one, it's a 3 plus 6, you get 9. Then 9 plus 4, you get 13. 13 plus 2, you get 15. 15 plus 1, you get 16. And finally, 16 plus 4, you get 20. And remember that the last value of the increasing cumulative frequency should be equal to the total frequency. Now, plot the increasing cumulative frequency polygon. So since here we need to construct a polygon, what we need to think of about first is the scale for the y-axis, which will correspond to increasing cumulative frequency. And remember that the scale for the x-axis doesn't matter, but if you can choose a convenient scale, that would be better. Now for the y-axis, for the frequencies, for the increasing cumulative frequencies, they range between 3 and 20. So you can't take 1 unit on the y-axis to correspond to 1 increasing cumulative frequency because you won't be able to fit 20 units on your graph paper or 20 centimeter. So 1 centimeter for 2 increasing cumulative frequency is acceptable, but I'll choose a 3 because I have 3, 9, and 15, which are multiples of 3, so this would be better. So now on the y-axis, I'll start from 0, then 3, then 6, then 9, and so on. Now on the x-axis, which corresponds to the grades, since they range between 45 and 60, then I'll choose each 1 centimeter on the x-axis to correspond to 2 points for the grades. After that, we need to locate the points 45, 3, 48, 9, and so on. Now I'll try to do it after I gave you all these hints. You should be able to do it by yourself if you didn't do it already. This will be the final shape of the polygon. This is the polygon of the increasing cumulative frequency. And also don't forget to show all the numbers that are shown in the table. So like 13, 16, 52, and so on. Now part 4. What's the percentage of students having a grade greater than 57? Since they're asking about the percentage, then you need to be able to know the number of students who got a grade greater than 57 divided by the total and multiply by 100. So how many students, so what are the grades that are greater than 57 first? They are 58 and 60. Now how many students got 58 and 60? We refer to the frequency. So 1 student got 58 and 4 students got 60. So 5 students got 58 and 60. So 5 students got a grade greater than 57. Now, in order to calculate their percentage, then it's 5 over 20 times 100, because 20 is the total, as I said. So you'll get 25%. The last part, determine the average grade or mean of the students. This is very simple, you just apply the rule. So it's the first grade times its frequency plus the second grade times its frequency and so on over the total frequency, which is 20. So 45 times 3 plus 48 times 6 plus 52 times 4 plus 56 times 2 plus 58 times 1 plus 60 times 4 all over 20. This should be your final answer, 52.05. Second exercise, it's the first session of 2010. Also, try to do it by yourself before I do it. Now, 200 people are surveyed about their favorite football team. The following table represents the result of this survey. Now, before they ask you about anything, you should think about this number. What does this number represent? It represents the total frequency because it's the total number of people surveyed. Now you have these teams, you have some of the frequencies, some of the percentage relative frequencies, and the central angle. Read this table carefully. Now the first part, calculate A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Let's start by A. Can we calculate A? We have all the frequencies, and also we have the total frequency, which is 200. So the only missing frequency of A, then of course we can calculate it. So 60 plus 40 plus A plus 30 is equal to 200. Now take the numbers to the other side and leave A on one side. You will get that A is equal to 70. This is the answer. Now for B. B is the percentage relative frequency. Can you calculate B? Yes, because we have the frequency, its corresponding frequency. So the percentage relative frequency, which is B, is the frequency over the total frequency times 100. So you'll get the answer, 40 over 200 times 100. For C, also since we got A, which is 70, then it's also 70 over 200 times 100. And same for D. These would be the values of B, C, and D. Now for E, F, and G. E, F, and G are the central angles, and recall that the rules for the central angles are these three rules, or actually these three forms. Now, since in the table you have a row for the frequency and a row for the percentage relative frequency, then you can use either this one or this one. But this one seems shorter, so I'll use this one, percentage relative frequency times 3.6. So for E, it's the percentage relative frequency of Italy times 3.6, so 30 times 3.6. For F, it's the same. The value of B that we got times 3.6, and same for G. Try to calculate them by yourself. You should get these answers. The second part is to draw a bar graph of frequencies. So you're concerned about this row, and for sure, you're always concerned about the character, which corresponds to the x-axis, which is here the team. Again, we need to choose a convenient scale on the y-axis, so the frequencies are 60, 40, and this is 70 and 30. Then what do you think is a convenient scale for the y-axis? Each 1 centimeter on the y-axis should correspond to a frequency of 10. And on the x-axis, for sure there is no scale here because the character is qualitative, so you just place Italy, Brazil, Spain, and Algeria, and keep in mind the conditions for the construction of bar graph. The width of each bar should be the same, and the space between each two bars should also be the same. This would be the shape of the bar graph, so the scale on the y-axis is taken 1 centimeter corresponding to a frequency of 10, and here we place the characters, and the width of each bar is the same, and the space between each two bars is also the same. Now we still have the last part. Construct the corresponding circle graph. By the way, these two words were missing, so I added them now. The x-axis corresponds to the team, and the y-axis corresponds to the frequency. Now for the circular graph, you have the central angle for each value. So you just need to draw it now. The first step is to locate the center of the circle and draw any radius. Then put your protractor on this radius and such that the center of the protractor should be on the center of the circle, and measure an angle 108 degrees and draw the sector and then name it Italy. Then do the same for the other values of the character until the chart becomes completed. Now, if you forgot these steps, watch again my previous video where I explained how to draw this chart step by step. This would be the pie chart, or the circular diagram or circular graph of this corresponding to this table. That's all for this chapter. Thanks for watching.